Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I have an article that is very, how should I put it, very close to my heart because I can relate to it to a certain extent. And I've been on both sides of the fence, and or I would say, yeah, that's a good characterization, I guess. As an immigrant, as a resident of a different country and then immigrating into the United States and going from there. So I could see things, I experienced things, not that necessarily I know better than a person who reads about these things or understands things better than others, but I'm just trying to tell you about my experience with this kind of situations and how and what I encountered in my struggle. And this is an article talking about United States who would offer, this comes from Reuters from today, actually from the June 22nd, offers, it says US to offer 300,000 work visas for Mexicans, Central Americans, Mexican officials said. So 300,000 of work visas, that's a lot of visas for to work. Now, the United States will announce an offer of 300,000 work visas to Mexican and Central Americans when the Mexican president visits Washington next month, Mexico's Interior Minister said Wednesday. Every day we're talking with the American government Interior Minister Adam Augusto Lopez said in a speech on a visit to border town of Tijuana where he met business leaders. The American government agreed to first grant 300,000 temporary work visas, 150,000 of which will be for Mexicans or foreigners who are in Mexico today waiting for the possibility of migrating north. All right, so the other 150,000 would be split proportionately among Central American nations, Lopez said. A spokesman of the U.S. Embassy in Mexico did not immediately respond to a request for comment. It says, so about Crimea. I don't care about Crimea. I talk about what's going on in the United States right now. That's closer to home than Crimea. So, 300,000 workers. Now, when would you bring foreign workers? When the economy is booming, now expanding greatly, and you don't have workforce. Or when the workforce you have sells itself for too much, and therefore you get something at a discount, right? Or you have an attitude in your country where people simply have a mentality of entitlement and they will receive funds without working, but they will be able to vote. So you got three options here. Maybe there are more than that. I think these are the most important ones. So the economy is not booming. It's not booming, right? Economy. All the predictions are the economy is going to be shrinking, and it is shrinking, and it's going to get to a stagflation. Stagflation means high inflation and not a big production. The production would stagnate. That means the economy will not grow. So then why do you need 300,000 extra workers when we will not have enough for your own native workers? So it doesn't make sense. Well, when I go, for instance, now, direct experience, going and to some stores, you don't find a lot of employees over there. I'm talking about, grocery stores and all that. You have 2 or 3 cashiers and 3,000 people wanting to pay. And I ask what's going on here. And the answer is always people don't want to work. Probably they want to work, but they want to work for a certain amount of money in order to make a living. But then, if you are unemployed, how can you survive? So you have to sell yourself, right, your labor, to the whomever hires. Otherwise, you will be starving unless you have someone else, the big daddy, that's giving you money to stay home, which is the government taking from the same guys who would offer you work, because they're the producers. Who do you think they tax? And then print money and they get loans. That's how it works. Because this country does not work function in a profit. It has a deficit. Nevertheless, let's say it has a profit. So there's this mentality. Now you import more people that will work cheaper. Cheaper. I tell you why. This is direct experience. When I came here, I grabbed whatever work I could grab. And I worked, I was paid for the minimum on the economy, right? I did that, I had to. I didn't ask for anything. When I came here to work, be honest, be paid, save money, have a good life. That was fulfilled by my own work and the opportunities offered by this country. The country offered me opportunities, but it didn't come and grab me. I had to go and work my butt off to get the money and work like crazy. But you had the option. Do it or don't do it. And I wanted to do it. And I did it. Nevertheless, when I came here, I worked at the bottom. That's where I started. Bottom of the bottom. And I was not ashamed of doing that. Because I said, well, work, that's my goal over there. I'm going to reach that goal. And I reached it. I even surpassed. I went above it. Okay. So then I'm telling you, when I came here and I worked for that, I worked in a company where people were calling in sick all the time, not coming, and they were keeping their jobs. And then I told the owner, you don't understand. If you would bring a few Romanians, they would work for half the amount these guys are paid for the salaries and work 3 times harder than these guys, and they will show up at work every freaking day. You can whip them if you want. That's how they would be working. Well, yeah, blah, blah. Never materialized. But that's what it was. Those people will come and get these guys' job in a second. They were paid about, let's say, $10 an hour. Romanians will work for $7 an hour and will show up and will work like slaves. That's how they work. That's why I worked. And I told him, you're going to have always full employment in your company with these people that work like crazy for less money than your natives work. That's the way it is. But the natives, this is the problem. When you have these guys coming from the boat, like Romanians, they come here from nothing, with nothing. They don't have houses, they don't have cars, they don't have loans. All they get, they save. They live in an apartment, like 5 or 10 people, in an apartment of 4 bedrooms, and they save all the money. So they can afford doing that. But what kind of life that is? But an American who has the American dream in his heart, well, I have to buy a house, I get a loan, I have children, they go to school, they get into sports, or whatever activities else, I buy cars, I have loans. I have to have a certain income in order to support my standard of living. Your income and your standard of living is much higher than the newcomer. So he's going to get your job. Let's say you worked on that job for 20 years. The Romanian or the Mexican will come and get your job because he's going to work for less money he can afford. You can't. You can't afford having less work for less because you already expended your life, expended your expenses, your life, your house, your car, your vacations, your whatever you do. The immigrant, has nothing. And he's going to save the money, send it back, buy whatever he's going to buy over there. That's his goal. That's his goal. So he's going to cut you. You're going to get out. He's going to get in. Now, whose country is this? Is the guy who's going to come here as a temporary worker? Or the American, who his ancestors built it to this level? I mean, I'm a foreigner, obviously, and I appreciate what the previous generations of Americans did to this country so I can come over here and work for this amount of money and have all the economic advantages that I didn't have in Romania, in that corrupt country. So I appreciate, thank you very much, American ancestors, Americans that created this country, invented this country, and built it. And it is, and now it's going down, and I don't like that. So yeah, the 300,000 people that will come here, let's say they're Romanians, all of them. Those guys would take your jobs. They would come, let's say, with degrees in certain degrees, engineering and so on. They would not work for $80,000 or $60,000 a year. They would work for $30,000 a year with the same education. Don't you think these guys know more than those guys? You train them on the job for about 2 weeks, if you want, and they're going to be as good and better than these guys over here. And they will work their ass off because you're going to always blackmail them. You're going to go back if you don't. I'm going to fire you. So they think, oh my God. So they work for $30,000 a year as an engineer versus a 60. Do you think they will not get your job as an engineer, as the teacher? But you don't. You think that's going to be pipe layers, roofers, and whatever other construction workers. Because they protect their little areas, the teachers and so on. The teachers here, Oh my God, don't get me started with that. You can hire foreigners at half of price and better prepared. Better. So what is the union going to do, the teachers union? Going to protect a less qualified workforce so they don't get invaded by a better one, because you can try them. You can test them and so on. They're going to be better and you're going to work for less. But they're protected. So what with this 300,000? Those are, I'm telling you what they're going to be. They're going to be probably working on the lower bottom of the society, those jobs. That's where they're going to work. But what do you do with people who will not get their jobs, with the Americans? Because they vote. What are they going to do with those? Well, I'm not going to work in construction for $15 an hour. I need $50 an hour. But the Mexican or the Romanian would work for $10 an hour. So why not? So what are they going to do? Stay home? Because these guys are going to take your jobs. But if nobody pays you, your big daddy, what are you going to do? You're going to be starving? No, he pays you. You know why he pays you? Because you're going to vote. You're a biped, you got 2 legs, and you can go and vote. That's why it's going. And the money that you get from the big daddy is not from his big daddy's pockets. It's from the producers. So yeah, thank you very much. Great timing to get those people in, because your population doesn't want to work for that amount. Your businesses are going to make a kill right here, and those guys are going to have a profit. Good. And who's screwed? The American people in general. But you got to go and work. But if you have this mentality, you were given this mentality of entitlement, and I can stay home and I'm going to get money. Why? Because there's no jobs. There is jobs. You can work. There is jobs. There are a lot of jobs available over there. You don't want to wake up, and because you're going to wake up and sacrifice for that amount, because almost the same amount, you take it from the big daddy. So I should stay home and jerk off over there, pardon my Japanese here, and watch TV, drink beer, and that's it. For a little bit less than you would make over there, instead of going over there, waking up every morning, putting up with the clients, customers, shit, and all that, and coming back home tired as hell, but fulfilled as a human being. I don't know. That's the way. So and there's going to be 300,000 here. There's going to be 1 million there. And what are the American workers going to do? Are you waiting for them because they're going to have kids? A lot of them. And I tell you that. I know that for sure. They will have a lot of kids. So how can you have kids when you can't support them? You can't, but you play every night. Oh, that's going to get me to different ideology. I can go further. I cannot go further than that, because I will be, how do you call it? Called this and this and this and that. But what are you going to do? I don't work, but I make kids. Who's going to raise my kids? The government? The government doesn't have money. It's going to be me. I'm from my taxes. You're going to raise your kids, because those guys are going to take it from me, give it to them as programs. Well, but how is that called? Equity, right? Yeah. And justice, correct? Yeah, all right. Thank you very much. So come over, guys. Come over here. Drop the standard of living of the regular American, and have a nice day. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.